Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Friday, December 9th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Peach Bowl against Georgia is in 22 days. The game against Michigan in 351 days. Okay, Tony, we got a tiny bit of football to talk about before we get to the major topic of today's show. Ohio State got some good news on the recruiting front on Thursday. It's not a new commitment, but it's a recommitment.
Yeah, Ohio cornerback Germain Matthews, four-star player, reaffirmed his commitment. There had been rumblings that maybe he was headed down south to Miami or to some other school for perhaps some NIL things like that, but reaffirmed his commitment to Ohio State. So he was able to relieve a lot of concern that Buckeye fans had, and not that he's relieved all of the concern, but in that particular case, he has done some good.
And yeah, that was, if you go back a couple days, you're going to hear me talking to Mark Givler about a bunch of these different guys, and there are guys they are trying to flip, and there are guys who they are trying to keep from getting flipped. That is one you can apparently cross off the list on the second part, so that's good. That is good news for Ohio State.
He said 1,000%.
He did. Jermaine Matthews did, yes, and Mark was very much. Seems very not concerned about that, so it's almost as if Mark knows what he's talking about every once in a while. You should find out what Mark's talking about at BuckeyeHuddle.com. He is on our Huddle board along with Alec Gleitman. I mean, there is a ton of recruiting news right now. You're going to want to be there to follow along with all of that. Okay, Tony, that's enough football. We are here at the Shot because we just watched one heck of a basketball game. The Buckeyes opening Big Ten play with a 67-66 win over Rutgers. This is one of those games where everyone at the end goes, had it the whole way, and doesn't necessarily mean it. Buckeyes had a big run in the first half. They had a 14-0 run in the first half. Rutgers had a 11-0 run towards the start of the second half, and all of a sudden was leading. Rutgers' biggest lead was 6 points 4 minutes into the game. Ohio State had an 11-point lead, about 4 minutes before halftime, and then the whole second half was just kind of jockeying back and forth. Very fun, very dramatic game, and then Buckeyes down. They had a bunch kind of trading foul shots in the final seconds. With about 5 seconds left, Ohio State down 2, gets the ball back, and what happened then?
Well, and the thing is, they practiced this quite a bit, and there's a missed free throw, second missed free throw for Rutgers. Bryce sends the ball, grabs the rebound patiently, gets it to Bruce Thornton, who came for the ball. Bruce Thornton takes it up court, gets kind of trapped a little bit on the sideline, fights his way through, finds Tanner Holden. Holden catches it in the last second, flips it up into the air, nothing but net. He said he's not sure if he saw the ball go in. He just heard the crowd, and then he saw his teammates running after him. And then he was asked, "Are you sure you didn't see the ball go in?" He's like, "I don't know, man."
and that was, in those moments, it is a very, I don't know, man. My wife texted me and said, "Wow, you almost got run over by a basketball player. Are you okay?" And I said, "I don't think anyone touched me." She's like, "Oh no, you definitely got bumped into at one point. Apparently it was on TV." So yes, there's a little bit of fight or flight, I think, in that moment.
Adrenaline, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a very adrenaline-packed moment. And now that's the exciting moment. You kind of yada some of the things that Rutgers folks are maybe talking about that final play. There's like a little bit of discrepancy with the rules. Like Jay Billis said one thing on Twitter, and then it's not totally clear. But I think the question was, number one, did Bruce Thornton step out of bounds? I don't think there was a clear replay, and the ref was right there looking. So my assumption is no. I think the bigger question was Tanner Holden had at least 1 foot, maybe 2 feet out of bounds, and then did he reestablish himself? And do you just have to reestablish yourself, or is this like football where you can't, it's an illegal touching situation? The ref said it was good, so I guess it counts.
Well, and that was what Tanner Holden said. He said, "I was in, and you can't go back and take it away from me." But if you look at the replay, he was definitely out of bounds, and he jumps in the air, and there's no reestablishing himself. Like, he catches the ball in the air, lands, and then shoots. And just the fact that the entire time he's like floating out of bounds. He's basically out of bounds, and so he was asked, what were you doing? He's like, "Well, I was just getting ready for the shot." It's like, well, you're not getting ready for the shot out of bounds, but that's just me thinking out loud here, but he was the one who caught it and got the shot off. But yeah, I was waiting for the whistle to blow on Bruce Thornton. I thought for sure he was getting pushed out of bounds, and they were just going to call him out of bounds. But yeah, the ref is like right behind him, like literally 2 feet behind him max, and so he had been looking for that and expecting that. And there were no good angles that I saw. But yeah, you can definitely see Tanner Holden not establishing himself in bounds. But you know what? I think the score is still 67-66 Ohio State.
Yeah, the paper says 67-66, so that is in fact the final score. And you know, I mean, you can always ticky-tack calls back and forth. There was a big 3 from Bryce Sensabaugh that got waved off on a moving screen, which that one I will claim responsibility for, because not 2 minutes before that I had turned to our buddy Matt Parker, who shoots for one of the other sites, and I said, you know, this has been a really enjoyable basketball game because the refs have just been letting them play, and it was like, you know, I don't know, 15 fouls in the first half, and when at that point you were 8 minutes into the second half, and it was like 4 fouls to 2, and it's like, wow, this is what basketball should be. It's not just a ref show, and then immediately huge momentum swinging call that Chris Holtman was not very happy about in the moment.
Nor was the crowd.
Yes, no, the crowd was not happy at all. And you know, I mean, this is the first like actual crowd this season. This is the first time we've had students in here, and the crowd was into it. You know, this is not exactly rocking like the Matt Sylvester shot just yet, but this is a team that is sort of, you know, this is a team that I think this is sort of shaping up to be a likable team, and a team that is playing hard, and a team that just kind of finds a way to get it done. And you're seeing a lot of young guys. Young guys always get people excited for a basketball team. Bruce Thornton played 39 minutes tonight, and you know, this is a tough Rutgers team. This is not a Rutgers football team. This is a legit. They just beat Indiana. I mean, that is not nothing. And to come in here and have freshmen playing key roles like Bruce Thornton, like Bryce Sensabaugh, that's really encouraging at this point.
Yeah, and both of those guys had to step up because Ice Likely was out, and he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. Chris Holtman doesn't know exactly how long. He's back home dealing with a family issue. And so Bryce Sensabaugh was in the starting lineup. You know, Bruce Thornton is the starting point guard, but Ice takes over a lot of those duties throughout the game. So Bruce Thornton playing 39 minutes and had some turnovers, but everybody did, and just continued. He made plays diving for a loose ball to get a jump ball situation, took a charge down in the paint, and as Chris Holtman said, he plays so well. He's hard to take out of the game, and tonight you couldn't because you had really no backup point guard. And then Bryce Sensabaugh, I thought he played his best game. I asked Chris Holtman that. He's like, well, let's look at the film first. But this is a guy who's trying to be a better defensive player, and he took a charge. He was getting some, just getting in the way a bit, and of course he had that shot that got erased. But the fact that you have these guys in big moments looking to make plays, even Roddy Gale getting some time, and he will play more, Chris Holtman said, while Ice Likely is out. But he had a drive to the basket for a layup in crunch time, and the moment wasn't too big for him. He took a 3, it missed, but these guys, they're not afraid of this, and so I think you've got that going for you. And then of course Zed Key was fantastic tonight. Yeah,
that was going to be my next question. Zed Key, just, you know, another 23 points and 14 boards, 22 points and 14 boards. We were talking before the game, Likely not being there, that was like oh boy, like how many different ways is this going to hurt them? Because he is big on the glass. He's a ball handler for them. He does a lot of stuff that you got to kind of make up for. And you know, you look at the rebounds. They out-rebounded Rutgers 35-27, and it was not like Ohio State was shooting 25 or Rutgers was shooting 25%. So there were so many more defensive rebounds to get. The team shot very similar percentage-wise. Ohio State actually shot a little bit worse, and Ohio State still took care of things on the glass, and it was 14 boards for Zed Key, and then just 4-4, 2-2, 1. I mean, it was just everyone just kind of chipped in. It was just, you know, mom's out of town, and so you know, you've got to you know, make dinner, and you've got to do the dishes, and you've got to whatever, and just everyone kind of pitches in and gets the job done.
Yeah, and I asked Holtman about that after the game, and you can look at Bryce Sensabaugh led the team with a 12, plus minus 12, and that's because he was playing defense, and Rutgers was not scoring when he was in the game, you know, and so that's something that is unusual for him on the court, because when he's on the court, his man is usually free. But you know, he did well. You know, they didn't get a lot from Justice Swing, but they got enough. But I thought Zed Key, playing against a guy who was bigger than him, taller than him, longer arms, and a guy that he's played against, growing up. Those two have played against each other, so he got the better of him today in this one, and just a nice, obviously, a nice win. You control the game for so long, then you lose control a little bit, but they don't fold. And they didn't fold against Duke, even when they're down by like 10, 18 or whatever. And you haven't seen the collapse where a 12-point lead becomes a 26-point lead and now you're done. Yeah. And this never became, I think Rutgers led by maybe 2 in the second half. Maybe that might have been their long, and they'd have the ball, I think, up 2, but they would never get beyond that. And Ohio State never put their heads down, and they kept going.
Yeah, there was a point in the second half, really close to halftime, when Ohio State had that big lead. They were up 11 at one point with 4 minutes left, and then all of a sudden you get to halftime and they're only up 2, and it was just like, oh well, it's like the football team that dominates the first half, but then just keeps kicking field goals, and then you give up the one play, and all of a sudden it's close at halftime. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, I can see where this is going, and then it didn't go there. That was very impressive, and I think you maybe saw what the rotation is going to look like moving forward, at least in, not necessarily against Maine, but when you're in, if Likely is out longer term, Sensabaugh, Sewing, Key, Thornton, McNeil, your 5 starters, Holden, Akpara, and Roddy Gale off the bench. It feels like that's kind of where the line is right now. And, what's interesting is you didn't have Likely at all. You didn't get a whole heck of a lot of Sewing, like you said. And you're finding a way to win a game in a, this is one of those Big Ten swing games where in March, beating the teams that are kind of right around you in the standings, especially at home, you have to win those home games. That's the difference between being, how many games do they play in the Big Ten now? 18, 20? Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between being 11-9 and 10-10 or 9-11. This is one that, the end of the game is memorable, but this is also one that just, when you get to March, this is going to be one that makes a difference in that the fact that they won this game.
Yeah, and Chris Holden repeatedly said Rutgers is a good team, so this will end up being a good win for Ohio State. And you already mentioned Rutgers beat number 10 Indiana by 15 before they played in this game, so they're a quality team, and they weren't even fully healthy for that Indiana game. They were full strength for this game, and Ohio State still withstood. And that's going to be a win that they can hang their hat on going through the rest of the season. That will be one of their quality wins.
Definitely. And we speaking of quality content, we're going to have our live show on Friday morning. We're planning on 11 a.m. at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Kevin Noon, Tony, and I doing, probably talking, I'm going to guess we're going to talk a little about football. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be mostly basketball, but I'm sure someone will be like, I have a question about the football game. Who are they playing next? I forget. The answer is Georgia. It is December 31st. It's in the Peach Bowl, and actually, Tony, if they win that, they get to play at the national championship. So it's actually kind of an important game.
How many days?
It is the 9th, so 22 days, Tony. 22 days, 3 weeks and 1 day from today. Don't make me do math in my head. This has been a long day. We got through it. You got through it too. Thank you for getting through it with us. Make sure you get through it at all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Lots of the basketball thread was pretty lively tonight.
Yes,
it was. It is a very fun community. There's boy howdy, is there a lot of stuff to talk about right now between basketball and the upcoming football game and football recruiting. Transfer portal, NIL. Oh boy, there's lots of stuff to talk about, and you can talk about all of it with us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Very fun community, lots of great content. Mark Givler and Alex Gleitman are going to be working overtime this month as we head into National Signing Day on the 21st. There's going to be a whole lot to talk about, so we hope you will join us there. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.